All right, everybody. Welcome to this interview with Mr. Konrad Wasiela. He is the CEO of ESE Entertainment. As you guys know, the ticker is ESE on the TSX Venture and ticker ENTEF on the OTC. Hopefully that will change into a Nasdaq ticker by end of next year. We'll see. But yeah, super excited to have Konrad on with us today. It's been a long time coming. I've been an investor in ESE for over a year now. Very happy with the progress, not only in share price but the business itself. This thing is building out to be a monster, and obviously we had some really positive news come out this morning with the new acquisition. We'll get into all of that and more with Mr. Konrad Wasiela. Welcome to the show. Big news today. Konrad, can you tell us a little bit about that? Oh, there you go. There's that handsome face, and let's get started with that. So let's kind of get going into a deep dive about what this means for your company and how this is going to integrate into ESE Entertainment.
5 million of EBITDA. Quite frankly, that's just unprecedented in this sector, especially in the eSports specific groups. They're struggling just to create revenue or create any profits. And this completely shatters that and adds that additional 24 million plus the profit. And now we're looking at a run rate of about 50 to 60 million for the next 12 months, which once again, I mean, it's just really hard to find. Our team has done a tremendous job at executing. And the best part is, we're just getting started. I think I've built trust with my shareholders. I hope you guys trust in what I say. This is the fourth acquisition, and we've delivered every single time. We keep shareholders in mind. Our outstanding share count, we're still going to be sub 75 million after this acquisition. Once again, in my opinion, unprecedented. I haven't sold a share. It just shows the mindset. We're super locked in and focused on creating a billion-plus company here.
What I love about you, Konrad, specifically as compared to other CEOs, is that you might talk a big game, but then you also deliver. You also walk the talk, and so that's something that has been evident in the past 365 plus days. And as you touched on, like, these acquisitions are massive. The one today, 24 million revenue run rate, over 50 to 60 for the coming year. Absolutely massive. You've aimed for that 100 million in run rate, and so, like, I feel like we're almost there. We're almost there in a very non-dilutive fashion as well too. You know what I mean? Like, very tight float. You're the biggest shareholder. Like, everything is aligned for this to become a billion-dollar company, and I'm not personally selling a share until we get to that point. So that's a little bit about that. Konrad, what can we get into? Obviously we touched on all the acquisitions. How are all of these going to integrate together? Because obviously it's awesome to have that that run rate of 100 mil eventually, and 50 60 right now, but how is that all going to come together and integrate in a in a smooth fashion?
I think it's really important to understand that my background as an athlete revolved around teamwork, revolved around winning as a team, functioning as a team, executing as a team. And that hasn't changed the way I pursue business and new opportunities. We've created a 360 solution in the esports and gaming world, and each acquisition adds a different element to that and provides expertise to the overall group. And as it pertains to integration, it's already started and it's seamless. If you saw our Digital Motorsports World Cup, that was a full 360 integration.
Yeah.
I wasn't even in the country when they did that event, and it went off perfectly. So the production was done by Frenzy. The digital motorsports side was done by Digital Motorsports. The back end support, was done by WPG. it was a full 360 solution. So these guys are already working together. They have a great relationship, and they're leveraging their strengths already. At a higher level, integration will continue to streamline. We have some very intelligent, capable people in senior management, specifically Digital Motorsports. Now the CEO spent over 10 plus years specializing in integration and cloud technology at Intel and Microsoft. The CEO of Game Addict is a graduate student at MIT and specializes in operations and integration. And we have directors, for example, like Rick Brace, who's built Rogers Media and was a president of Rogers Media and started as the 30th employee there. So I think we're in good hands, but we're already doing it. And I absolutely agree. Everyone has to work on the same page. And that's the focus of our targets, finding people that are in line with my vision, that are great people. We invest in people, not just the company.
Yeah. And I think that's such a valuable point to mention is like, you know, a lot of people will, a lot of CEOs or a lot of companies specifically, they'll just, you know, they'll just do something for money specifically in like a short-term gain, whereas you're building out that vision, you're building out that infrastructure, you're building out a very solid foundational base for your company to be that, you know, that #1 esports infrastructure company worldwide eventually, right? So that's what really attracted, you know, me to your company in the first place. And then, you know, we met probably a year ago, not in person, but we spoke about a year ago, and just having spoken to you, you really give out a sense of genuinity as well as just straight confidence, right? So that gives shareholders a lot of confidence as well. Let's kind of get into your guys. Can you guys mute yourselves if you're on this, please? Somebody's making some noise there. Thank you. Shane, do you mind muting yourself? Thanks. All right. So let's get into a little bit of a background on, you know, you talked about being an athlete. I think it's interesting. You know, Konrad played in the CFL, which is the Canadian Football League. For those of you who don't know, you talked about how this is helping you build this business. Can you go into like specifically how that is?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who posed the question, but the obvious one is teamwork and camaraderie within an organization or a company, and then just the pure fact of winning. I had the pleasure to be a part of winning organizations. In my 5 years of playing professional sports, 3 out of those 5 years, we created a franchise record for wins, something that I'm very proud of. And I was around the all-time greatest coach in CFL history, Wally Bono, the most wins ever. I'm addicted to learning. I'm a knowledge junkie. So I learn from guys like that. I learn leadership skills. I learn how they win, and it translates into business. Running a lean team, finding the right personnel is so synergistic to how you need to run a business, and it's very it translates perfectly. So I took a lot of those keys and learning moments from those guys, which I consider my mentors. And I've translated into business, and it's been working very well.
Clearly.
And you know, you said it, just being genuine and competitive. I mean, you're not going to find a CEO that's more competitive than me. I mean, it's just, I will outwork everyone. That's our winning formula. We're going to outwork everyone. We're going to work together, and we're going to make everyone improve internally. That's just the winning formula. That's what it all comes back to. Just working together and winning.
I think the reason why I relate so much to how you talk and the way you talk is because I come from that football culture as well, and you know, growing up playing university ball and everything. So like, this is the way that winners talk, and there's nothing more clear to me than that, which is why, you know, ESE is my current largest investment in the Canadian space right now. So we spoke about Nasdaq earlier. You briefly touched on it. So, you know, obviously, obviously next year could potentially be that big year for you, a bigger year for you. What needs to happen for Nasdaq to be a realistic goal by the end of 2022?
So once again, back to my competitive nature, there's no bigger stage in the world than the Nasdaq, and I'm not going to shy away from it. I want to be on the Nasdaq. And we need to position the company to get there. And there are certain requirements. Those requirements entail having a minimum share price of $3.50 US. And there's also a requirement as it pertains to revenues. But we've completely outperformed the requirement for revenue. So we've ticked that box. And internally, we already started exploring what other requirements are needed and the process in order to get there. Because I want to compete with the big boys and I want to be on the big stage. And we're very proud of our business and we want to share that business to the world. And I think that's the best platform to do it on. So that's definitely going to be in our future. Will it happen next year? I don't know. But, you know, I won't sleep till it does happen. So you can count on that.
Sounds good. Konrad, when you started out with ESE in the first place, what was the end goal, the end vision, okay? And has that changed over the course of the last couple of years?
You know, I'm a big believer in goals and having a vision and dreams. You know, the end vision for me, ironically, it never ends. I wanted to create the largest esports and gaming infrastructure in the world, and I think we're well on our path to getting there. But we never have a ceiling here. We always want to thrive and strive to do more. And you see it all the time in business, and that's why I love this space. And what really drew me to this space the most, there is no ceiling. You know, you wake up one morning and you see an announcement like Meta with Facebook, and you start chatting about the Metaverse. We have capabilities to enter the Metaverse. You know, now that scale is just so much bigger. You know, the CEO of Epic Games just announced that the Metaverse is a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity. Well, guess what? I want a part of that. So our goals are going with how big the market climbs. So the market was massive. But now with the Metaverse, now we're talking a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity, and we're going to position as the biggest esports and gaming infrastructure company. I mean, if you think I'm going to stop at $1 billion plus, maybe that's just the beginning, and we're going to be shooting for $1 trillion opportunity. That's how I think. I'm never going to change that. So as it pertains to end goal, there isn't one because it's just such a dynamic industry and we can continue to grow. And there's no ceiling on this thing. It's fantastic.
You spoke about Metaverse, which is obviously, you know, a very interesting concept. It's something that, you know, I've been watching for a couple of years now. Obviously, now we're getting a lot of Metaverse talk and hype, especially after Zuckerberg announced the name change. You want a piece of that. How do you see ESE fitting into that and kind of growing within the Metaverse that will obviously grow and grow and grow over the next 5 years exponentially?
Well, if you guys follow the story, we've strategically partnered with some of the largest gaming publishers in the world. eSports, Riot Games, Ubisoft, Epic Games, etc. Where are all they going? They're all going to the Metaverse. They're going to need our services as they scale into the Metaverse. So it's like a tailwind. We're going to come along for the ride. And quite frankly, we already have internal resources. We've been looking at this space for a long time. We have AR, VR capabilities internally. We're just excited about that opportunity, and it's coming fast. We've already done stuff in that space. Even look at digital motorsports. I think there's a misconception about the Metaverse and how it should look. I think it's already started. I mean, you see
we've been living in it.
Concert virtually. We have drivers who are driving on their simulators in 3D renditions of a track, and then they're going out on the track, right? We're on a one-to-one basis. So it's here now. It just, we haven't expressed the full capabilities of it on a larger scale. So in my opinion, we're already there, and we're a part of the process, and we really intend to scale with our partners and those publishers in the future.
That's great. What do you think, obviously, what do you think was the biggest move for you guys in 2021? I don't want to put you on blast or anything, but what do you think is the most important move that you guys made?
I mean, it'd be hard to say our last acquisition we announced today wasn't. From a revenue and stability standpoint, to have 24 million of revenue plus that almost 5 million EBITDA, really do your research, guys. That is unprecedented in the space. It really is. So from a financial standpoint, stability standpoint, growth potential, because they're a tech-focused company, they could scale to 100 million, 200 million very easily. I would say that, in addition to Frenzy. And once again, do your research. People don't understand the Frenzy acquisition. We are now officially partnered via Frenzy with the 5th largest media conglomerate in all of Europe. This is a multi-billion-dollar juggernaut, and we're their exclusive esports and gaming partner. Think about that. The leverage, the relationships. That's 40 plus years of relationships that got accelerated overnight for us. So those two, as standalone businesses, are $100 million companies as standalones.
Yeah, it's a great point. And you mentioned doing your research. Like obviously in this community, like I try to do the most that I can to show that, but ultimately it's up to individual investors to understand what that is or what it means, and then obviously have the confidence in investing in it. But you're 100% right. And business is, I would say, 90% relationships, right? So
100%.
So the more connected that you are, and the better relationships that you build with companies and people that are already doing something amazing, and that you can leverage their relationships and their connections. Like, people don't understand the power of that. And so those two acquisitions specifically give you that, right? They give you exactly that. So it's amazing to see. And doing all of that while keeping that, while not being dilutive, and keeping that share count relatively quite low compared to most companies in the space is massive. One question. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
And the reason the share count's low, once again, when you read these news releases, because the owners of these companies believe in it. They believe in the journey. They believe in me and my team. And as Jay said, these relationships, when you combine 40 years plus 20 years plus another 20 years of experience, combined experience, we have 50 to 70 years of experience combined that we just acquired in the past 6 months. Just imagine the spider web of relationships, the introductions, the synergies. That's the beautiful thing of a roll-up acquisition strategy. When it's done well and right, you'll see the organic growth, guys. It's moving fast. It really is, and the numbers will speak for themselves.
Konrad, for people that might not still be on board, or they might not be on board yet with the whole idea that esports is a thing, and that it's more than just little Jimmy, 10-year-old Jimmy, in his room playing games. Like, what would you say to those people, and how could you describe these esport tournaments and just the esport culture in general that is growing at an insane pace? Like, how would you describe that for someone that might not be familiar with it?
I mean, I'll use another analogy. When it's staring you in the face, it's too late. This is reality.
Yeah.
I'll give you real examples. When I'm walking into the biggest media conglomerate in Europe, and I'm sitting there, and he says that my esports sim racing race, so digital motorsports race, garnishes as many viewers as his F1 race.
Yeah.
And end of story. When you see the NBA 2K outperform their stadium sales.
When the Super Bowl gets outperformed by Fortnite, and I'm a massive fan of traditional sports. I love football.
But this reality, the numbers speak for themselves. It's literally like seeing, Instagram or, Snapchat or Discord and saying, oh, we'll see if that really picks up. No, you're too late. There's billions of people on these platforms.
It's not even a question. This is reality. And if
go speak to the Gen Zs, go speak to the 8 to 15-year-olds.
Because I do all the time.
And they'll literally laugh in your face.
And that's when you know it's go time, and it's time to position yourself in companies like this, because it's the future. This is the future.
Yeah, I think some people have a hard time grasping that because it's so different from the way that they grew up, right? But you mentioned an interesting point with the 8 to 15-year-old, even like up to 20 almost. And like that age group is just, this is their reality now, right? And this is what they're looking to do with their lives. Like they want to become esports players, gamers. Like they want that to that for a living. And look, and just speaking macro for just a second, like you can see that kind of like happening. You see so many jobs that are not going to be there in the next 5 years. And, people don't want to work anymore. Like because there's opportunities even like in the gaming space. You're noticing with like the blockchain gaming sector, like in the Philippines and in other Southeast Asian countries and South American countries, you're seeing this kind of like play out right now. People are quitting their jobs and playing games for a living instead because they make more money. So all that to say is like this, like Konrad mentioned, like this is a reality. This is happening. Whether you want to jump on the train now or later, that's up to you. But I jumped on super early because I want the most benefit, which, I would encourage all of you to really look into this space much deeper than just at a superficial level, and to understand like why that is, what's happening on the macro level. So.
And it's when I hear these stats and I get reports, we host all the League of Legends tournaments in Poland. This is a country of 40 million people. 55% of all PC users in the entire country tune in to watch that. League of Legends.
That's insane.
We're not talking 5%. I repeat, 55%. When you add in age brackets of 70 plus, you don't even know how to use a PC. I mean, we're talking about 80-90% of users. It's unprecedented. And Jay said it best. Kids are into Roblox. They're building out their own universes. This is not going away, guys. This is accelerating, and it's accelerating fast. And it's your choice to get involved now or get in later. But I really believe, the Epic CEO said it the best. This is a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity because 10 years ago we didn't have trillion-dollar companies, and now we do. And that's where this is headed.
So, you speak about Poland. Obviously, you guys have a footprint in North America as well. Myself having lived in Asia for multiple years, this has been a trend that's been building for much longer there. And, the way I look at the world is that Asia is always a step ahead, always, with everything. So, if you want to get a good picture about what's happening, go to Asia, figure it out, and then come back to North America and see what's going on. And like, I attribute a lot of my investing success to Asia, to my time in Asia, because I was able to really get a glimpse into what's, what the future looks like. Now, for you, Konrad, like, obviously you've traveled in a bunch of different areas, and what countries specifically are like that? What countries really jumped out at you to be like, oh man, like the esports scene here is insane?
I mean, you don't have to look much further than Poland and Germany. I mean, two very central countries in Europe. I mean, it's just, we're talking sold out stadiums, the whole nine. Obviously, China is just absolutely massive. North America's booming. They're selling out stadiums. I mean,
it's global. That's just the reality. You mentioned the Philippines, Singapore. We've done tournaments in those regions as well. Vietnam, Korea, Brazil, South America. I mean, it's literally endless. We're starting to get publishers who are asking to do rollouts, not in one country, but 10, 20, 30 countries at a time. That tells you, once again, it's staring in the face. If the publisher is seeking your help to do a rollout, last year they said one country, this year they said 10, 20, or 30. That's called they're doing it and they're doing it now. You need to be a part of it now, and that's the skill. And you can't take that lightly. That's 10, 20, 30x from the year before. That's not a growth strategy. That's called supersonic. You're going to the moon strategy. They're really pursuing land grabs, and it's unbelievable. It really is. It really is.
Do you see your impact and your footprint being the largest in Europe, for the foreseeable future, or do you think that's going to shift over time? North America, Asia, South America. Like, do you think that you have a certain vision in mind of where you want to be more, or how that's going to expand over time?
Great question. We started in Europe and we're very European centric. Yeah. But guess what happened? We announced Game Addict today, and we just planted our flag in North America, based out of Montreal, a tech hub of Canada. We made a very strategic statement today and planted our flag here. So we're going to be scaling in North America fast, and the next stop is Asia.
Do you have a certain kind of timeline in mind for that? Like, do you have, again, obviously I'm not expecting names or anything specific, but do you have targets that you've kind of seen in Asia that you're like, man, I want that. I want to get into that.
If you guys watch my interviews, I'm a bit of a broken record, but we have over 100 million plus in revenue in our M&A pipeline. We have targets all over the world. We're diving into those targets as we speak. And yes, we will be scaling. Realistically, 2022 is going to be a very busy year for us, and we anticipate doing a lot. We're not slowing down. We're going to really scale this thing. And you have to look at it realistically and logically. We just went from 0 to about a 60 million run rate. Do you think it's easier to go from 0 to 60 or from 60 to 600? That's how this stuff works, right? Yeah. So at scale, you can really accelerate, and people are calling us, right? They want to be a part of it. We already work with the groups that are, knocking down our door now. The whole role has changed significantly.
Yeah, I think you put it nicely there. It's like, as a business grows and as you gain and make a reputation for yourself, things come to you, and opportunities will knock on your door rather than you begging for an opportunity at someone else's door. So,
and it's like, I'm sure you investors, everyone saves money. I did it myself. I had absolutely nothing. To get to that first saved 10K, 100K was like, oh my God. I mean, it felt like it took a million years, right? But to scale from 100K, once I had that to 1 million, I did that in a flash. And I know it's gonna be the same way with this. Once we hit that 100 million revenue mark, we're gonna scale very, very fast. Very fast.
That's so cool. So you guys closed at, looking here, so $1.63 Canadian. You guys closed up 4% today. Again, I'm biased because I have a large position in this, but I still think that this is a stupid price to be buying at, to be honest with you. Like, again, just adding in the massive acquisition from Montreal today, Game Addict, like adding in that and putting that into that market cap doesn't really make sense to me. But basically, I think 3 months ago I made a video when the stock was around $1, and I was like, this stock is going to double by end of year. And I still believe that. I still think that we're on track to at least hit $2 by the end of the year. Like, that's my personal opinion. You know, obviously, Konrad, you obviously agree with me, but in a in a way that you can speak to investors, what would you say about this current valuation and stock price right now?
I mean, it's just crazy. If you do your homework, guys, you know, FaZe Clan is going to do a Nasdaq IPO, 20 times revenue multiple, 20 times. You look at any other group, the lowest I could find is a 6 to 8 times multiple, right? And we all know how to do math. And, you know, the averages on the NASDAQ, we're looking at 10, 12, 15, 20. I've even seen as high as 50 times revenue multiples. And some of these guys have no revenue or $1 million in revenue, or losing 15, 20 million, burning cash, which is the polar opposite of us. So, you know, even if you just gave us a fair valuation, it's just, it's totally undervalued, and it's just a ground floor opportunity. And, you know, I can't get into details, but I have a little bit of a suspicion that we might be getting a bit of pressure, some shorting, because quite frankly, a lot of groups don't deliver, and they probably bet that we wouldn't deliver, but it was a wrong bet. I did deliver, and I'm going to continue to. So a squeeze could happen, and I think that the reason we're not breaking out, and it's almost obvious now, is that there's just some shorting pressure. But if we could break through that, you know, we could really have some magic happen coming up here.
Well, we saw just how, because of how tightly structured the share structure is within the company, and we saw it last year. You know, it was at like 25 cents, and like I bought it around, like, I think it was like 40 cents I bought in, and then I made a video when it was around 55 or 60 cents or somewhere in that range. Made a video. That video got like over 40,000 views at the time, and then, you know, over the next couple of days, the stock like went over $2, over $3 actually, sorry. And then obviously at all-time highs, we're looking at somewhere in the $5 range Canadian. So again, right now at $1.63, with everything that's gone on in the past year, the business is so much more built out. Like, it's so okay. So the way I would put it is this: it's so significantly de-risked at this point that this price makes no sense. That's what I would say. At 5. Go ahead.
No, you literally hit the nail on the head. It's completely de-risked. Another thing people don't understand is, not only am I the largest shareholder, but I have all the other groups that I acquired under 3-year lockups.
Yeah.
They don't even have access to their shares. They're not selling.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to really read the newsletters and educate yourself. Myself included, I'm also locked up. So even if we wanted to, we can't sell. So the float's tight, and that's why it's so temperamental in our stock. So if we get a little bit of buying, this thing really takes off. You know, it even went up to that $5 range, close to. And what that tells you is you could get there again. We were there already, and what it tells you, we could get there again. And I think it's a matter of time. I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going with this thing. So it's all right in front of us, right? It's very easy to educate yourself, and I pride myself in being transparent and open with all my shareholders and as genuine as possible. But I'm limited to tell you specific things. But I really, really want you guys to dig into those news releases and say, wait a minute, this guy's taking all shares almost. What does that tell you? He thinks it's going to go to 5, 10 plus bucks, right? So you have to really dig into that detail.
Yeah, and the company's taking stock as well. Like, that's, you know,
that's what I mean. It's the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, exactly. So we touched on, everybody's shares being locked up and et cetera, et cetera. There is you know, and this has been asked to me like a couple times, and so I figure might as well have you address it. Wayne selling his shares. Do you mind, Wayne Silva?
Yeah.
Do you mind kind of giving your insights on that and as to perhaps explain why that's happening?
Yeah, no, I love this question and I laugh and I wish I could address every single shareholder, and I'm going to put into the next MD&A. So that's our annual kind of report, which is coming up soon. Guys, he has 7 million shares, okay? He needs to pay his taxes. He just sold a company. He doesn't even have capital to pay his taxes. These are just small realities of life.
Yeah.
And he's selling such a limited amount of shares, and he's been transparent with me from day one. He wants to sell X amount of shares every year. And I'm actually very happy to say yes. Why? He's an older gentleman. He's put his whole life into this business. He found a group that he's comfortable putting his life work into, and he should be rewarded for that. We should not punish people for selling as we go on and as we build a phenomenal company and make other shareholders a boatload of money. I don't think it's a fair way to pigeonhole and say, oh, why did you sell 100,000 shares? Well, when you have a tax bill of $100,000, is he making any money? No, he's not. So I just don't think that's fair.
I couldn't agree more. And that's why, like, and this is something I've told people and you know, within the community that I try and press, is like people asking about, oh, why is this person? No. What you need to look at is insider buying, not necessarily insider selling, unless there's something wrong with the business, right? If there's something that, you know, people are not executing, management is not doing what they say, and then you see insider selling, well, then that's a red flag, right? But if you're looking at insider selling when, you know, things are going really well and the business is growing, then that's people living. Like, that's very different. And I get asked this question so many times too. Like, I'll put up a sell alert of like a stock I sold or crypto that I sold or whatever. And I'm like, guys, like I 50x'd on this crypto. Like, I'm gonna sell some. You know what I mean? So
you have to ask yourselves the same question. If you've dedicated your whole life or you've built a phenomenal business, you don't believe that person should get rewarded? Do you not believe I should get rewarded at some point? Or Elon Musk? These guys, he built $1 trillion company and everyone's mad at him because he needs to pay his tax bill. It's unbelievable, right? So just think about it from a perspective if it was you. And, if I build the company to a certain level, I believe I should get rewarded. I genuinely do. Just like you get rewarded in sports, in life, in anything. You've built something special. You should get rewarded, and that should not be a negative. A negative would be if someone was aggressively selling at as Jay said, when things are going really bad and they continue to sell and sell and sell. That's completely different. But if you're a healthy business, you're executing on the business plan, the business is growing every single quarter. Yes, guys, they do deserve to sell some. And not everyone's in a position that they don't need to sell, right? So that's just my 2 cents on it. And I'm very eager for everyone to make money. I want everyone to succeed and everyone to do well. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, and I think that's very well said, well put, and it just, like, you guys got to think about the context of it. It doesn't, if you see insider selling, it's not a red flag, right? However, if you see insider buying, then that's like a red flag for, like, you should pay attention to that stock because it's most likely very good news. So yeah, okay. In terms of who do you see as, I'm not even going to say like a direct competitor, but who do you see as your competitors in the space? And could that potentially be like a partnership or, an ally at some point rather than a competitor because you're working towards similar goals?
I had some really interesting conversations with very large media conglomerates. They're all heading into this sector. And they're very eager to get into esports and gaming and want access to this space. So I think, and I'm talking about the big guys, right? whether it's Netflix. I mean, they openly said they're going into gaming and esports. Whether it's Disney, whether it's MTG Group, who owns ESL and DreamHack. These massive groups want exposure in this space, and they're the best comparables because we're creating the infrastructure for those groups. So it's a natural marriage just by default because they hire us already. Other comparables of scale, you have keyword studios, multi-billion-dollar market cap that do similar things to us, but on a different side of the business, on infrastructure for gaming. Even EGLX, they proved on the Canadian market that they went to 1.2 billion or wherever their peak was at $11 a share. They proved that this is a $1 billion opportunity and that it's not people talking, that's a reality. They were at $11, $1 billion plus. And we're taking the same path. So, like I said, it's literally staring you in the face. And if we're working with EA Sports, call it 20, 30 billion market cap, Riot worth billions, Ubisoft's worth billions. There's a common theme that's happening here. We're partnering with massive, massive groups, and even groups like Porsche, some of our clients. The common theme with us is we've consistently, every single quarter, partnered with $1 billion group. And that's not going to change. So, I mean, it's hard to do a comparable, but when you get bucketed into that group, if you're sitting in a room with $10 billion companies, you're probably going to be the 11th.
Good point. Esports as a whole, and your company fitting into that. What do you see as your largest monetization opportunities? And obviously, currently that's something, right? Those are things right now.
Yeah.
And then in the future, there's going to be other opportunities that open up, other ways to monetize. Can you kind of get into the now and then also get into the later with that?
Yeah, the now is definitely, if you've been following some of our news releases, is putting on these events, digital events and live events for groups like EA Sports and Riot, etc. We're starting to see this scale as a consolidation play. So we're getting more and more countries and more regions, more activation. So you could scale within the group, right? So let's just use EA Sports, for example. You start off with FIFA, but they also have Apex and other games. So you start scaling within that group, and then they scale on country. So those are two metrics we could use to show our scale. Same with Riot. Now they have Valorant on top of League of Legends. They have Team Fight Tactics. They have Arcane, etc., etc. They're going mobile. So all the opportunities layer on top of themselves, and then you expand into new countries and regions. Where I see this going in a supersonic, like literally into the stratosphere, is when we start implementing more AR, VR, and we start going more into the metaverse with these same groups, because now you're just global. It's a global rollout, and now you're touching everyone. So the eyeballs could scale from literally from 10 million eyeballs to 1 billion eyeballs. I mean, that's the upside of why I keep going back to the metaverse in the future. We're positioned perfectly for that.
Yeah, and not only that, and you also, being one of these first companies in the space and really, building that out on top of your career as a professional athlete, I'm sure that you potentially have a lot of connections in these leagues, right? Whether it's the CFL, whether it's the NFL, right? And then from there, word spreads like like wildfire, right? So,
yeah.
So I mean, you're obviously in that, in that bubble, in that professional athlete bubble, still, even though you're retired now. So, how can you describe how professional athletes are looking at this? Because I know that, I'm obviously a huge NFL guy as well. And, I know that a lot of the players, this is what they do on their time off, right? They're huge gamers. So how does that kind of relate back to how big this thing can go, and then how easily their platforms can help spread the word?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and I love using this term, follow the money. Look at Jerry Jones, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, the list goes on and on and on. They're all invested in esports. Why? Because it's exactly what Jay said. They're walking into the locker rooms and they're seeing all their number one draft picks gaming. So they're ahead of the curve. So they invested 5 to 7 years ago. Even Drake, from an entertainment standpoint, music, the same thing. They're 5 to 7 years ahead of the curve with everything. That's how they became billionaires. And they see it for themselves, so they're believers, because like I said, it's right in their face. And now they're starting to leverage that. So they're teaming up, either creating their own esports teams or events or organizations, and they're rolling out their own strategy to keep and retain their current fan base, because it's getting diluted by the younger generation. And I know that to be true because we've already started working with sports organizations. The biggest one in the world, FC Barcelona. We worked with them. They flew into Poland and did an event with us. We work with the Rio Ave FC in Portugal, another Premier League soccer club. This is reality, guys. Just think about that. FC Barcelona is in esports in a major way, and so are a lot of other pro sports clubs. They see it as the scale. That's how they're going to reach not just eyeballs in their own country or region, globally.
You mentioned AR, VR, and other industries, and the ways that you can integrate into them, and the way that esports will integrate into them in the future. Is there an industry that maybe people are not honed in on or focused on that you see an opportunity there in that industry or sector?
Yeah, I mean, the way media works these days, all these new trends come out and they're so forward facing, right? So AR VR is definitely one that doesn't get enough attention because it's here and it's happening now. You look at digital currencies, crypto, etc. That's here and now. This stuff's going to accelerate, right? Because now with platforms like Discord, Twitch, etc., this stuff is just getting supercharged. And it's so blatantly obvious. Amazon purchased Twitch. That's one of their best investments they've ever made. Now Twitch wants to buy all of the NFL's live streaming, right? I mean, it's literally comical. Just read 5 articles and it's like, okay, this is the next big thing. Period.
Yeah, and it's you did mention it's all coming together too, right? It's building like a massive bubble.
Yeah. So, and I had a great conversation from an analyst from Bloomberg, who's a specialist in Metaverse and gaming. He's our top analyst, and you hit the nail on the head. People don't realize we are already creating the metaverse. You just even did it with your hand. You said we're creating this ecosystem. That is the metaverse. Yeah. NFTs, crypto, gaming, esports, VR goggles, AR, etc. Creating studios that could bring you into that metaverse. I mean, this is a reality. We have those capabilities. I see it on a daily basis. So, like I said, this is why I'm so excited about this opportunity, because we're literally in the forefront. We're getting calls from groups asking us to do it for them.
That's amazing. And yeah, it's mind-blowing, but once you do deep dive and really look into it, you realize like, okay, all right, this is real. All right, so let's do this for the last 5 minutes here. Let's open it up to anybody that wants to ask a question. What you can do is just unmute yourself and ask the question directly. If you do not want to speak for whatever reason, you can feel free to type it out in the ESE ENTEF text channel, which is below. So you can write it there, or you can, again, unmute yourself and go ahead. Okay? So, yeah, don't be shy. Don't be shy. We're all here for the same reason.
We're all on the same team.
Yeah. Do we have a first question? Who's going to be the brave soul? There is a question here. Are you looking to buy shares in the open market?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we talked about the situation of the weighing. I bought shares when we were a little bit lower, kind of in the 125 range, and our investor relation guy said I should buy more. I said, well, then send me some money, because I mean,
I'm not made out of money, so I'm doing my best. I'm buying as much as I can. I'll probably end up buying some more. I'm the most active buyer by far. I think I've bought 2 or 3 times already on the open market at every stage. I don't even look at the share price because I know where we're heading. So don't fault me for only buying 5 or 10K at a time. I mean, I'm doing my best, guys.
Yeah, perfect. Is there any plans of doing a raise anytime soon? Obviously, your last raise was at, I think, 140, if I remember correctly, with Canaccord. Is there a plan to do a raise at any point in the near future, or like, is there a target that you want to raise at, kind of?
Yeah, so I mean, as it pertains to capital raise, and this is an education piece for everyone. Typically, banks like doing raises when they've shorted your stock and they want to cover their positions. We're in a position where we don't need to raise. We're in the best position, and we just acquired a group that makes almost $5 million a year. So I don't feel that we're valued where we need to be valued, and I'm a patient guy, and I'm willing to wait
until it's at a level where it reflects what we've done, and it's reflective of where we're going, and then that puts our shareholders in a position that I want to put them in, and then we'll raise at that point. But I don't want to raise anytime soon. I think it's just not necessary, but 2, we always have to keep the shareholders in mind. I want to keep the structure tight, and I want to bring in the right investors. So trust me, I've turned down a lot of people already.
Yeah, it's all about the sticky investors that understand the vision and are not here for, themselves in like a 20% gain. They want to, they want like the 1000x or like the 100x, or like that's what they.
Well, that's what it is, and the irony is we have some ultra high net worth individuals invested in our company. The smartest investors and the investors I respect personally the most, who have built, massive companies. They've won Oscars. I mean, they're literally legends in the space. They've sold 0 shares, and they're day one investors. That tells you everything.
And on to that point, like I invested a lot, right, at 40 cents, and I didn't sell they went up to $5. I didn't sell one single share, one. So you know what I mean? So I'm totally. I have that same mindset as the people you're just talking about, and it's like, okay, like let's do this. Let's do this thing.
It's like a full loop. It goes back to what I said in the beginning. It's teamwork.
Yeah.
If we're all on the same page and we know the vision, and I'm being transparent and I'm delivering, why would you sell? And if somebody wants to short, that should piss everyone else off, and we should squeeze them and make them pay for that.
Agreed. It's all. This one is worth the squeeze.
Oh yeah, it'll watch what happens.
Any updates from WPG?
Yes. Yeah. I can't get into detail because they're doing very well. Let's put it that way, and we'll probably have some news releases in the coming months about some contracts and things that they've been doing. And I'll also add some stuff into the corporate update that should be going out soon, so it's the end of the year, and I like to update all my shareholders. But we've been very happy with them, and we've been upgrading some things internally and streamlining their business. But they've been performing very well, and we're really happy with Wayne and his management. So excited to share some stuff with you guys, but unfortunately, I'm not in a position to share today.
That's great. What else here? Yeah, so obviously the focus is on organic growth, right? You're not looking to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, because I'm so bullish on our acquisition strategy, and I spend a lot of time on that. Sometimes I don't give my team enough credit on the organic, and it's really impressive, right? Some groups are growing, 30, 50+% with limited capital injection. So, I'm going to write about them in the corporate update because they really deserve, a pat on the back because they've been absolutely crushing it. So we're excited for that organic growth, which is, in my opinion, the most valuable.
Very cool. Okay, I have one more person that's currently typing a message, so I'm just we'll take that as the last question, and then we'll wrap it up. Or guys, just one last reminder: if you have a question, ask now with your voice, or type it in the chat now. Okay. Okay, so got one question in here. How can you manage to motivate your international team and transfer your vision to everyone in ESE?
Well, for starters, I just spent 4 months with them in Europe. I spent time in each office, personally working on operations, working with key executives on a daily basis, day and night with those guys. And you know what? Not to oversimplify it, we get along. I invest in people who already believe in the vision, groups that I already worked with in the past. So when we join forces, we're already aligned and we're excited. We're on the same page. We have the same vision. And they see the growth for them to expand into North America and globally. So they're super fired up and super motivated, and they want to accelerate their business. And they feel like as a bigger group, as a group that has a 360 solution, they don't need to look elsewhere. They could look internally to scale. So to say they're motivated is an understatement.
I did a video recently with the CEO of Digital Motorsports. The guy looked like he's going to jump through the screen.
These guys are motivated, trust me.
Awesome. And okay, I'll wait another 5 seconds here. Anybody? Last call.
Am I able to talk here?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, hey, how's it going? I actually have my gaming headset on, so I'm talking through that.
I love it. What brand?
No, this is just a general one. I don't even know because I just got into playing Warzone, so I'm starting that. That's the only headset I got. No, I just wanted to say great job. And I'm looking forward to all the updates. And I'm in absolute shock at the current share price as you are, in terms of the trading multiples and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to be along for the ride. And yeah, I just wanted to say a great job on the acquisition and looking forward to 2022.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate it. I'm in the same shock, but like you said, we're both long-term holders, and
I mean, you're a gamer. You know where this is going. I mean, we're in a phenomenal place, and
I'm patient. So,
of course, I wasn't a gamer pre-COVID, so I'll tell you that much. So if there's a lot more people out there like me that have just gone into it. And I find myself being that person that starts to watch live streams and all that kind of stuff now, when you would never catch me doing that a year and a half ago before COVID. So that just tells you where this is going. Yeah.
No, that's fantastic insight, and it's exactly in line with what we just spoke about for the past almost hour here.
Yeah.
There's a living example right there. That's where this is heading.
Exactly. And on a side note, going to be a good game between Toronto and Hamilton this weekend. So
yeah,
so it's going to be a nice interprovincial matchup. But anyways, I'll let you go. Thanks for the time and appreciate everything you're doing.
No, it's my pleasure to have you on, and I'll definitely will be watching that game, man.
All right, take care, Konrad. See ya.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right, thanks, thanks, Jacob. Anybody else? Last call. Going once, going twice, and going 3 times. All right, Konrad, maybe just final words, final thoughts, and then we'll wrap it up.
You know, I think the whole conversation kind of came full circle with what Jacob said, and this is not just about Gen Z. We're pulling in the entire globe into this sector, and it's literally staring us in the face. This is a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity, as said by the CEO of Epic Games, and I really believe that. And I think we're positioned perfectly to be a leader in this space. And I just thank all of you guys for trusting me, investing in me and the company. And I'm going to deliver, and I'm going to continue to deliver as long as I'm sitting in this seat. So thanks to you, and we'll be doing this more often because I really enjoyed it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Konrad. I know it's been a long time coming. Been wanting to do this for a while. So as you mentioned, like you're in the Discord now. I'll show you where everything is, and if you ever want to come in and drop a 2-liner, 1-liner, whatever it is, you're free to do that. I'm sure people here and then people watching this later will really like that. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll chat soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay, and thanks to everyone. Have a great evening.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.